Hello guys, I hope you guys had a good weekend, and now we will be going off and starting off the week with block 5. So please go ahead and write your essential question, and as well go ahead and write the first example. You guys don't have to draw the graph, but go ahead and write the table. So when you guys are ready, come back and press play. So our essential question for today is, how can we identify the proportionality relationship of a table when given a graph? So with this being said, we can take a look at the first example that it says we have to create a table that demonstrates the relationship between the graph and when comparing the side length of the pool and the number of tiles for the pool. And then we will have to create an algebraic rule that represents the tiles needed to surround the pool. So for starters, go ahead and identify any important information. So we have to demonstrate the relationship from the graph and basically what it means for the table, but it's just saying in other words. And then we will create an algebraic rule. Okay, so let's take a look at the first one. Let's identify what our points are. So what are our points? I'll go ahead and help you guys with the first one. So our first point, or coordinates, as you guys can also name them as, remember that this is our x and this is our y. So we have our first point here, that is 1 and 8. Okay, so now take the time and pause this video, identify the next following points, and then come back and check and see what you guys get. So the next points that you guys will see are your 2 and 12, and 3 and 16. Now given our points on the graph, we can now insert that into the chart. So we know that the left side is always your x and the right side is always your y. Okay, so we can go ahead and input our points now. So we have 1, 2, 3, and then we have 8, 12, and 16. So remember, the information we will be entering here is our process. Okay? So how can we get from 1 to 8, and 2 to 12, and 3 to 16? So take a second and think about this, pause the video and see what you guys get, and come back when you're ready. Go ahead and see whether the number that we think will get us there through all the COPs to be the same, or will it be different, or how else can we solve for this one? So take a second, think about that, and then come back. So as many of you probably have already tried, we know that 1 times 8 does give us 8, but does 2 times 8 give us 12? No, right? So we know that 8 cannot be our COP. So what we have to identify is we have to see what numbers goes into 8, 12, and 16. Even if we were to do the COP, the K equals Y over X, it probably still wouldn't give us a proper COP. But have you guys ever thought about maybe it's a smaller COP number and then it could be added by something? So think about that. We know we can think of a smaller COP that can go into all 3 of these numbers and then still be added by something. So the COP in this case will be 4, because we know that 1 times 4 plus 4 does give us 8. So now if we bring that down, we have 2 times 4 plus 4 does gives us 12. Now go ahead and pause this, give it a try for number 3, come back and see what you guys get. So as you guys can see, yes, it did work. It did work for all of them. And also, I just want to go ahead and help you guys identify and how we got that 4. So I want you guys to look here. So if you guys take a look at, given that 4, if you guys look at the graph here, we have the point 0 and 4. So basically this is kind of a given on what our COP will be. Not all the times this will work, but if you guys take a look at that 4, if you guys go from the 4, you're adding that 4 because you go 4, 8, 12, 16. So it's by 4s. So you know that given said is that we know that it's going by the factors or multiples of 4. So that is how we identified that 4 to be given our y's of 8, 12, and 16. Okay. So now if you guys remember from the first 2 blocks that we did, we dealt with x. So if you guys remember from our vocab or the example itself, this goes for the same of bringing over that x and bringing down that COP, which is 4. Okay? And don't forget to bring down that plus 4 because it's needed, and it goes side by side with the 4, which is the COP. So make sure that you guys get this down on your paper and to know that when you bring the COP down, you got to bring the whole thing down with it. Okay? You guys don't want to miss those points on a test. So then what do? Do you guys remember? We just brought it right over. So then we have 4x plus 4. And this here, so please make a note of that. This is actually going to give you guys what your algebraic rule is. So write in here your rule. Rule is y. Why is it y? Because it's on the y side. Okay, so y equals that. So make sure you guys make a note of that. The reason we're equaling it to y is because it's on the y side. Okay, so then bring it down. All you have to do is put 4x plus 4. Okay, and again, just a little reminder, what is our COP in this one? Make sure that you guys, if it asks you from an algebraic rule what the COP is, we know the COP is the coefficient that is multiplied by the variable. Okay, so make sure you guys write that. So also a little quick reminder, COP, what is it? Should be 4. Okay. Alright, now please go ahead and write the following question for the next example, and please do write down that graph so that way we can identify the algebraic rule, and we'll go ahead and make a table. Alright, so now that we are back, remember, first thing that we do, what do? Identify our points or the coordinates on the graph. So I will go ahead and give you guys the first one. This one does have multiple ones, but this is key, guys. I only want you guys to do 4. So only find 4 points or 4 coordinates, however you guys wish to know that by. So please only find 4 because then it's going to be a lot of work for you guys, all right? So please find 4 points, write them down here, and then when you guys are ready, come back. Let's see if we get the same thing, or if not, that's okay if you pick different points, as long as we're still doing the same work. Alright guys, so welcome back. As you can tell, there are multiple points on this graph that you guys could have been able to identify. And that's okay if you guys are just having different ones, that's okay. And if they're not similar to mine, that's okay. As long as we're figuring out how to do the work properly. Different answers can be fine as long as there are numbers on this graph, okay? So given my points, we will then go ahead and identify, like it says right here, the constant of proportionality, and then as well create an algebraic rule. Okay, so that is some key facts that we will go ahead and identify for today. And so given that information, do we have to make a table? In some cases, we might. In cases, you might be able to figure it out off the top of your head, which is okay. But for this given sake, I want to make you guys be able to adjust using tables. So again, just write your X, your process, and then your Y. So please go ahead and write those in, and then we'll come back. Alright guys, I don't know if you guys have been able to identify it yet, but in this case, we might not even have to do the table, but again, it's still good so that way we can identify how to find the rule. But this one actually does work with our k equals y over x, so that way it's faster for us to identify what our COP is. So again, we have our 7 over 1, which is 7. Then we have our what? Go ahead and pause this video, work on those following ones, and then come back and check your answers. Alright guys, so given this information, I hope you guys were able to identify that the COP is 7. So please write it in there, COP equals 7, okay? So we know that is the constant number that keeps reappearing. So that way we know that we can go ahead and bring this in. We get 7. And then we have 2 times 7 gives us our 14. And 3 times 7 will give us 21. And our 4 times 7 will give us 28. So again, if this was an x, what do? Bring it over. Times what? Our 7, because we got to always make sure to bring it back down, right? So then what is our y? 7x. Okay? And so for our rule, we have our rule will be pretty more simple than the last one. But our rule for this one will be y equals 7x. Again, why is it the y? Because it comes from up this side, okay? So make sure you guys are able to distinguish why that came from y, and it's because it's coming from this part, okay, of the table. So please now go ahead and write this information down into your notes, and then when you're ready, go ahead and start on the 7th grade explanation. And again, the 7th grade explanation is just answering this essential question, okay? So go ahead and answer that, and when you're ready, come back and get that signed off by Ms. Eden or myself, and then we are ready to go.